Welcome to Artwatch, an enlightening foray into the lives of working artists. Come on in, step into our studio, and listen to something unique about the artistic development of some of our friends. I'm your host, Elisha. This episode is heavy. Our conversation today dives into concepts of identity and belonging, breaking the cycles of generational trauma, and the pain of stepping down from a $500,000 project of a lifetime. Please welcome Inkpa Mani. Inkpa, welcome to Artwatch.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about yourself.
So hello, my name is Inkpa Mani. I'm a Minnesota-based artist with indigenous cultural heritage from northern central Mexico. I'm an educator, I'm a father, and I primarily do painting, sculpting, and community-based arts.
Tell us more about the work that you do.
Yeah, so I do three forms of art, so I kind of compartmentalize it into three. In painting, I really think about the cultural stories that I've grown up around, and I'm really interested in telling stories that connect to people emotionally, but also inform. A lot of my artwork is based on educating. I think as a teacher and just the people that I've grown up around, sharing stories really connects people and helps them understand a little bit more about the world around them. In stone sculpture or in public art, I really want to make sure that people are connected to art. It demystifies that art making process. When I do public artwork, it's done with the community where people are involved in kind of coming up with design and elements of it, but also they're able to touch art and see it really happen, really be made. And I think that demystifies elements of the art making process. And with my community-based work, it's really reliant on the previous two things: connecting people, educating people, and having people be excited about the type of work that I make and the stories of the landscapes that they live in.
How'd you get into community-based artwork?
So I got first started with community-based arts through Amber Hansen, who was my professor at the University of South Dakota. And she's like a rock star in mural making. And she really brought these like key ideas of connecting people and allowing people who live in a space to dictate what that looks like. And I'm really excited that, that she kind of showed these things to me. And I've kind of taken those ideas along with some indigenous thoughts about what is community, how do you develop community, and my own personal beliefs into creating my own style of community-based art.
And you're in a gallery space right now surrounded by some really beautiful paintings. Tell us more about your painting work.
Yeah, thank you. This painting series is based on the importance of land and the people who inhabit those lands and have been developed by land. One of the ways that I think about land is that our ancestors are buried in these lands, and you can go back through history and the thousands of generations of people who have lived and passed through these lands. And I think about that connection as how has that land been developed. And I'm really interested in painting, just the way that you're able to connect with people, the emotional appeal, and you can kind of push it further in what ways does color, form, symbolism connect with people, and they can also develop the stories and meaning along with the artist.
Inkpa, who were your early supporters in your choice to become an artist?
Well, that's pretty easy. My community and my mom, or just my family. My mom grew up with a lot of hardship, and she always encouraged us, whatever we wanted to learn or to experience. She really helped us develop those skills to go out into the world and find whatever that is that we value. My stepdad's father was also an artist, and that was really much encouraged, kind of like this continuation of legacy. And within that, my mom's and my dad's communities both encouraged me, to share the stories that were being told around the fire or through ceremonies, because these aren't always the stories that are shared, to the wider public. So growing up around the Lake Traverse or the North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota region, I really had like this really great opportunity to be immersed in multiple cultures, really helping me understand who I am. Even today, before I apply for any opportunities or anything culturally, I always ask my family, how should I think about this? What ways should I approach this? and they really give me some of the best advice. So I'd say like my family, both adoptive and blood family, have always been really encouraging. And I think as a young artist, you need that encouragement from your family, but also your community and friends.
On the topic of reaching out to your community for insight and support in your projects, what's your high point?
I remember about a year and a half ago, my partner and I had just given, or my partner had given birth to our daughter, and I remember sitting on our bed and talking and having this feeling of like I'm on the edge of something really great. And I remember telling my partner, like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm meant to be doing something, or that I'm on the edge of doing something that'll mean something. Through that, I applied through another opportunity that some of my community members, some other artists in Minneapolis had reached out and said, you'd be a really good candidate for this opportunity. So I applied for the Waterworks project when I was still 23. And that project really, it was like the high point so far in my career, to be 23 and selected for a national project. This project was the largest project in funds that the city had ever given to a solo artist. In my upbringing and how my parents and grandparents were brought up, it was really meaningful because my mom grew up with a lot of trauma and hardship growing up in the streets of South St. Paul, in and out of foster care. My mom was raised by her grandfather in Minneapolis, and he died when my mom was 9 years old. And that experience that my mom had, and taking us from the Twin Cities area and living in a rural area so that drug life or gang life didn't affect us like it affected her. And seeing that within a generation, my mom was able to turn all of this negativity that was around her and change it into this really good positive of all of us, graduated from college, all with honors. And that, again, within a generation from my mom, I would be able to leave this sizable impact on the landscape of the Minneapolis, which historically had erased Indigenous perspective. It had erased different colored minorities. And this was an opportunity to change that, to have this dialogue that that Indigenous people can speak to these really important sites, no matter where we come from, that this was an opportunity to do something great. And because of that, like I was really I don't know, it was the highest point of thinking about me as an artist, thinking about how this project will impact multiple communities in the Twin Cities, both native and non-native, but also what the type of legacy that this leaves for my community and our families.
Now, I notice you talk about the Waterworks project in the past tense. Can you speak to the challenges that you faced?
Well, first, I traveled every week to Minneapolis, which is about 4 hours from where I live. And having a newborn, working a full-time job as a teacher, that was a big challenge. And one of the reasons that I resigned from the position, but also with that, around that time, my mom had passed, and she really was the cornerstone for our family. She had worked so hard in her life to make sure that we were well, that we were able to achieve, break this generational trauma of that has happened to our family for multiple generations. But as a young artist, being 23, 24, 25, and navigating this complex professional jealousy that came about it was very difficult. And there's not a blueprint for this. And I mean, so few people of color get an opportunity to this, that there wasn't a good even way for me to kind of think about what happens next. And it was very difficult to navigate that people had an opinion on me who I've never met. They never reached out to me and asked me who I am or how am I doing this work. And what's really upsetting about it and really hurtful is that a lot of these projects that I take on, it's not me, the artist, deciding what I'm going to be making, but it's a concern or a lot of people in my family or in my community seeing a need and addressing it to me and asking me, like, you're the person who has an ability to create works, who connect with people. And so within my family, I was asked more than anything to do a project like this to help. To grow up in a state like Minnesota or Minneapolis, where inclusivity and diversity is really encouraged, and to walk into an arena where all of a sudden I wasn't enough of something, or that my family connections weren't worthy enough, or that I couldn't speak to what my family has experienced, was very difficult. Like, I don't know that very many other people, at least no one that I know of, has encountered something like this. But within the project, I really love and care for my community and my family, the people around me who this really truly affects. It's not just me, an artist, who's affected. I mean, the community that I live in, the school of which I teach at, the people who support me as an artist, were made to make decisions or pick a side where I'm not sure that there was a side to be picked. I'm an artist first, and I wanted to create work that speaks to as many of the experiences that people have had in that region historically and today. And within that, the challenging part is culturally growing up Dakota and immersed in Indigenous culture. My identity really is centered around an Indigenous identity through having heritage that comes from that. And within a lot of Indigenous cultures, and really what I emphasized within my project proposal was that mitakue uasi, or todos son familia, we all are family, we're all related, and that beyond blood ties, how do we connect as people to one another? And to have, grew up around this philosophy and hear it multiple times at events that we're all related and we should treat each other like relatives, for people to say that publicly all the time and then to go against that was hurtful. Within this project, one of the things I think about is, and really some of the leading factors, like I mentioned, were, all of my personal life, which, being 25 years old, you don't have the world figured out. You're still trying to learn who you are and how you fit into everything around you. And to enter into this weird amalgamation of personal thoughts and identities in politics was difficult, but I didn't want to be a reason where someone used me as an example, or created division, or felt that I was speaking on behalf of a nation. I really truly only speak for myself, my experiences, and when my family asks me to, on behalf of my family.
So the road to today has been seriously uphill for you. What does the path look like going forward?
I still have that feeling of excitement, and like I'm still on a path to do something great. Knowing where my grandparents had come from, knowing where my ancestors, the stories that have been passed down, the experiences of my grandparents, my mom, even my siblings. I think I owe it to them to continue with my work. This is me at 25 navigating all of these things and still trying to figure out who I am, not only as an artist, but as a father, as an educator, as just somebody in the community, and a young man. I'm really drawn into education. The more we know about something, the less we have these prejudice against other people. So I want to continue my education. My plan is to get my master's of fine arts. And I primarily want to focus in on painting. My previous art professor, Amber Hansen, had always talked about that painting is like everything is painting, doing cinema work, writing a song, doing whatever art form you do, it's all painting if you just look at it in the right way. And So I want to continue my education, not only in that, but for the last couple of years, I've been getting my Dakota teaching certificate. So I'd be certified to teach the Dakota language. I think that all Minnesotans and this region, that's the original language to this land. So it'd be a big disservice for all of us not to continue that language, not to uplift it. So that's doing my part when what I can is to learn the language of this land, to learn the language that my partner's ancestors, that my stepdad, all of them, that they continued on. And yeah, overall, I want to be an educator. I want to be an artist. And I think that my future is bright because of the people around me.
For those who want to learn more about you, see more of your work, where should they go?
Yeah, so we're in the process of building a website under Inkpa Mani. .com, and then you can also find me under Facebook, Instagram under Inkpa Mani Art.
Wonderful. Inkpa, proud of you. You got a bright future ahead. Thanks for bringing on Artwatch.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Artwatch. If you enjoyed the show, please write a review. Leave a tip at leaveatip.org, or if you can, support the production with a small monthly donation. Information on this, links to Inkpa's work, future episodes of this show, as well as the video version of the podcast, can be found at artwatch.us. Artwatch is made in partnership with the Freeborn County Arts Initiative. Located in the heart of Albert Lea, Minnesota's historic district, the FCAI is the go-to nonprofit for pioneering new shows and artistic concepts. This program was also made possible with generous support from the Minnesota State Arts Board, Southeastern Minnesota Arts Council, and Freeborn Mauer Cooperative Services. Artwatch is a production of Inkfish Design Studio, executive producer Elisha, Marin. We talked to the owner of one of the largest music production studios in Minnesota on our next episode. Hope you can join us. Till then, take care.